Zachary Bennett had always been the kind of guy who kept his head down, worked hard, and trusted that life would eventually reward his efforts. He believed in fairness, not necessarily in spiritual principles, but in the idea that if you were a good person, good things would come your way. That belief system was tested after he turned 30. It was a rainy Friday afternoon when Zachary stepped out of his office building in downtown Denver. The startup he'd been pouring his energy into for 3 years had just been bought out, and not in a way that benefited him. While the founders made millions, Zachary, who had joined just a week too late to qualify for equity, walked away with only a severance check and a bruised sense of purpose. His best friend, Lucas Carter, suggested they grab a drink at a cozy bar they used to frequent in college. Lucas had always been into unconventional beliefs, spirituality, energy healing, and the like. As they sat in the dimly lit booth, nursing whiskey sours, Lucas leaned forward. "You ever think about why this happened to you, Zach?" he asked. Zachary laughed bitterly. "Because I didn't have a lawyer when I signed my contract. That's why." "No," Lucas said. "I mean on a deeper level. Maybe this is karma. Or maybe it's the universe giving you what you've been focusing on. Lack, fear, stress. Karma." Zachary frowned. "You mean some cosmic payback system?" Lucas nodded. "Kind of. But karma isn't about punishment. It's about balance. The energy you put out eventually comes back." Zachary sighed, letting his head rest against the back of the booth. "And the law of attraction. That's like think good thoughts, get good things. It's more than just thoughts. It's about vibration. If you're constantly worrying or doubting, that's the signal you're sending out. The universe reflects that energy back to you." The words hung in the air, echoing through Zachary's mind long after he'd gone home. He wasn't the spiritual type, but something about what Lucas said stuck. Over the next week, as he cleared out his belongings and began applying for jobs, he found himself questioning everything. Had he unknowingly contributed to his own downfall? Had his anxiety about job security actually attracted instability? One night, restless and wired from too much coffee and too many job boards, he stumbled upon a documentary on a streaming platform called The Invisible Power. It explored various spiritual philosophies: karma, the law of attraction, synchronicity, and more. There were stories of people who'd overcome poverty, disease, and heartbreak simply by changing their inner mindset and aligning their energy with what they wanted. A former Wall Street analyst shared how she had lost everything in a scandal, only to reinvent herself as a holistic health coach by vibrating abundance. A musician talked about how forgiving a cheating partner had freed him from a creative block and led to his first platinum album. Their stories were different, but one thing was consistent: inner change led to outer results. Zachary couldn't sleep after that. The idea that his internal world might be more powerful than he gave it credit for gnawed at his skepticism. He downloaded a journal app, set a reminder to meditate for 10 minutes each morning, and scribbled down affirmations he wasn't sure he believed in. "I am aligned with success. I release fear. I welcome abundance." First it felt ridiculous, but something about the routine grounded him. And within a few weeks, subtle changes began to emerge. A recruiter reached out about a remote product manager position with flexible hours. He landed the interview, then the job. It wasn't flashy, but it was peaceful, and it gave him time to think. The real turning point came when Zachary met Elise Morgan. She was an artist and ran a local community center for underprivileged youth. They met at a weekend farmer's market when Zach accidentally knocked over her display of handmade candles. While helping her clean up the mess, their conversation drifted toward passion, purpose, and fate. Elise talked about how she'd left a corporate marketing job to pursue art therapy. "It didn't make sense on paper," she said, smiling. "But I felt like the universe kept giving me signs. So I trusted the pull." They started dating, and soon Elise introduced Zach to a more profound view of karma. Not just the Eastern philosophical concept, but how it played out in everyday actions. How we treat people, how we react to life's chaos, how we choose love over fear. It all added up. She explained karma as a natural law of cause and effect. Think of it as planting seeds, she said one afternoon as they sat in her art studio. Every action, word, and thought is a seed. Eventually, it grows into something. Could be a rose. Could be poison ivy. But isn't that kind of like the law of attraction? Zachary asked. Yes and no, Elise replied. They overlap, but they're different. Karma is about ethical alignment, what you do. The law of attraction is about vibrational alignment, how you feel. Zach sat with that idea. It was as if karma was the echo of his past, while the law of attraction was the preview of his future. As he integrated these ideas into his life, Zachary noticed how different he felt. More intentional, more at peace. He stopped obsessing over control. He donated time at Elise's community center, helped kids with coding workshops, and reconnected with his family. He let go of resentment toward the founders who sold the company. He realized he'd played a role in everything, good and bad. That winter, Zachary launched his own consulting firm, one rooted in integrity and collaboration. He called it Ripple Effect Solutions, inspired by a quote Elise had framed in her studio. Every drop creates a ripple. Clients came not just because he was good at what he did, but because of who he was becoming. He listened differently, led differently, lived differently. One evening, a year after that drink with Lucas, Zachary sat on the patio with both him and Elise, watching the sun set over the Rockies. I think I finally get it, Zach said. Karma and the law of attraction, they're like two parts of the same system. Karma tracks your impact on the world. The law of attraction reflects how you're aligned with what you want from it. Lucas grinned. Exactly. Karma is the footprint. Attraction is the compass. Elise nodded. And together they help you walk your path. Zach leaned back in his chair, the sky bathed in orange and lavender. For the first time in years, he felt like he was no longer fighting the current. He was flowing with it. Life wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about understanding what he gave, what he focused on, what he became. The next day, he wrote a blog post that went viral. In it, he shared his story, not as a guru or expert, but as a man who had learned the hard way. The title read, How Karma and the Law of Attraction Helped Me Rebuild My Life. Thousands of comments poured in. Some were skeptical, others grateful. But Zach didn't care about the numbers. He cared about the ripple. One of the comments, from a young woman in Seattle, stood out to him the most. She wrote, Your story gave me the courage to quit a toxic job and start something new. Thank you. Zachary smiled. That was the power of alignment, of intention, of choosing to live consciously. Karma was the map of his past. The law of attraction was the invitation to his future. And he was finally awake.